Hi guys, Elements here, otherwise known as Dan. Wow, my chair is really squeaky. You can really hear that. Maybe I should sample that and stick it in the tune. Anyway, this is part 2 of my house production in Ableton. Hopefully you guys checked out part 1 where we covered kind of putting together a basic house drum loop. Used a few samples from Xfer and prime loops, etc. Didn't really do much more than a little bit of EQing on just the kick drum. Did a bit of arrangement, so we've got this basic with a click on, obviously. A sort of nice sort of house loop. What we're going to do today, I think, is we're going to dive in, stick a synth in, try and come up with a melodic pattern, and also some kind of melodic chordal progression to go underneath. Not sure what sort of how that's going to turn out, but hopefully quite good. I think we're going to start with just some init patches on Massive, probably because Massive seems to be quite a well used synth. I mean, I did try and download the Tower Noisemaker, which is a completely free synth that anyone can get hold of for Mac and for PC, so it would be cool to kind of do that so everyone that's watching would be able to do it. I'm not very au fait with Ableton's sort of operator and the actual synths that are built into it, to be honest, so I wouldn't want to try and waste time doing that because I'd end up with something shit and you guys probably wouldn't learn much more than me. So I think what I'm going to do is go for Massive. Might use SYNTH as well because a lot of people seem to use that. So we're going to drag in Massive, and I think we'll drag in SYNTH. We might use both. So we've got two channels. And let's just turn both those channels down. Okay. By the way, just an update for you guys. If anybody watched my tutorial for recreating Deadmau5 the Veldt, I've just kind of updated the video with a link to an Ableton project that you can download, and it'll open up and there'll be just the main synth in SYNTH and the actual chord progression as well. So if anyone wants to mess about with remixing the track, or if they just want the synth sound, then you can just download that, open it, and away you go. So I think I'm going to start with Massive, and I think we're going to try and come up with some kind of... That's not Massive. There we go. Always remember to click the arm button on whichever the synth you want to use. Bit of a pro tip there. And tab to get you backwards and forwards between two screens. You know, most important things in production. Right, so what we're going to do is try and come up with a melodic sort of melody, really. Choose a key and try and come up with something that will go along to match this. And then come up with some chords that will go underneath it, hopefully do some kind of proggy, housey sort of thing. So, what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to, off the top of my head, say C minor. We're going to do something in C minor. Massive in it sound isn't particularly inspiring. Might go for some kind of square saw wave maybe. Try a couple of detuned. So what I'm going to do, I'll try and remember not to go through this too quickly, so I'm actually doing it for a proper tutorial rather than just, you know, recording what I normally do. So what I'm going to do is I've got both amps up on 2 oscillators in Massive, intensity at full, wavetable position all the way across to the right, so you've got nice saw wave. One thing you always need to do in Massive is go to the what do you need to go to? Envelope 4, which basically controls the amp modulation there. And what you want to do is turn the level all the way up. That way you don't get that kind of sort of decaying volume on the preset. So there we got a nice sustaining wave. Detune this maybe 0.06 minus and plus. That gives you a bit of a detune, nice saw wave detune sound. Go to the oscillator, go to the voicing, maybe stick on unison, maybe 2 or 3. Switch on pitch cutoff. bring that out a little bit. Already it sounded a bit more interesting. What else can we do on here? We could mess around with a third waveform, possibly. Turn it up an octave, maybe. Flick through some of these waveforms until we find something that sounds a bit interesting. Also play around with the wavetable position just to kind of try and find something that sounds a bit decent. That's not too bad. I think if we add a little bit of maybe a classic tube over here. Maybe a bit of dimension expander. Turn that master down a little bit because it's clipping there. Might take this unison off actually. In which case the pitch cut off is a bit redundant. I mean, the basics of sound design really is just sort of, you know, trial and error. You might have an idea of something that you want in your head. You know, you might have an idea that you want it to modulate or to sort of, you know, have a choppy sound every 16th note or something. But most of the time, you know, you're not going to know how to get to the points. Nobody's memorised what all the wavetables sound like, as far as I know. Maybe there's a video on YouTube for someone that has. I don't know. That's quite nice. That's a grown one. I think we'll stick with that. We'll stick it all to go through filter 1, make things nice and simple. Mix filter 1. We'll choose. I quite like the scream. Is quite nice if you're doing dubsteppy sounds. But daft or just a low pass 4. Turn the resonance up a little bit. Okay, that'll do for now. Maybe we'll just stick on a bit of simple delay. Actually, no we won't. We'll go into Ableton and we'll stick a bit of simple delay on an Ableton, I think. Turn feedback, turn the dry wet down a little bit. Straight away you get quite a nice, you know, add in a bit of quarter note feedback, quarter note delay. I mean, when you stick on simple delay and it gives you like the 4 and 6, that's actually a really nice. Right, so let's play back our loop. And then what we want to do is just play the loop back, you know, and just play around with sort of different melodies, different ideas that are in tempo until you come up with something that sort of, you know, you think something that sounds quite nice. Then what you do is lay it down on MIDI, maybe tweak a few notes, tweak a few parameters. Once you've got your actual progression down, you can start messing around with the synth sounds a little bit more as well, and sort of, you know, if you're not too happy with the way it sounds straight away. Okay, something like that. That's pretty simple. I think we'll just lay that down. Okay, so there we go. We've got a basic progression now. I'll just solo that off so you can hear it. So that's in C minor. What we're going to do is we're going to double click on that, which will bring up the actual sort of piano roll there. We're going to right click and make sure we've got quantized settings set to, let's go for one at 16 there. Start and end. Yeah, basically what that does, I'll go back there again, start and end, adjust the note length. So obviously you always want the start on pretty much, because that quantizes the beginning of your note, which is the most important really, because that's when it's actually been played. And then quantizing the end to adjust the note basically makes the notes a set kind of length, which can be useful. So now we've got that nicely in time. Sounds quite nice if you pull the cut off back there, and we've got something to kind of build with then. At this point, also stick a nice bit of reverb on. I would use my Lexicon reverb, but I think for the basis of this, we'll just go with the Ableton reverb, because obviously everyone will have it. So let's just go for straight up ballad reverb, because it's a big verb. Bring dry wet down. Sounds quite nice with quite a high level of reverb there. Turn it up a little bit more. See what it sounds like when we start to actually open that filter out. I mean, I'm pretty happy with that actually. I think that's cool for the basis of what we're doing here. That's good for now. Right, so let's go into SYNTH, the generic performance sort of arpeggiated SYNTH patch there. Got to admit, I haven't done much with SYNTH from scratch, to be honest, so this is going to be a bit of an adventure for me as well. Let's go to the bank in it. So there we go. We've got pretty much sounds the same as Massive sounds, to be honest. Obviously you got 4 oscillators in SYNTH, which is cool. We work with part A for now. We'll record it. We'll come up with progression in the basic sound, and then we'll try and get that nice kind of like choppy, proggy sort of sound. So let's play back the loop that we've got, and then what we're going to do is sort of try and come up with some chords over the top. I think actually SYNTH for the preset, the init patch only lets you have 3 polyphony, so we want to rank that up to probably, well, we'll go for 8 for now. Actually, bugger it, we'll go to 12, just so we're not going to run out of possible notes. Here we go. Let's see what we can come up with. Actually sounds quite nice playing this sort of open pattern. So I think might record something like that in actually. Let's see what we can do. Okay, there we go. So just come up with a kind of a little progression. Doesn't go very far in terms of chords, but I mean, I suppose there you could say the chords are C minor, E flat major, C minor, A flat major. I mean, I don't know if those will work over the top of that. I guess they might do. We can try it. But for now, we've got these two synth parts. So what we want to do is quantize this one. Same quantize settings should work. Actually, what's quite nice there is that's cut off the length of some of the notes that I've used and actually given it quite a nice stop and start sort of choppy feel already, which is a happy accident, which happens quite a lot when you're producing music. You get these happy accidents that just sort of spring up results that you weren't looking for or expecting or even thinking about. Yeah, have a listen to that. Not too reminiscent of a deadmau5 strobe there with the little chopped off notes. Yep, quite nice, quite happy with that. Now we want to work with that sound, so let's bring up SYNTH and look at what we're working with here. So at the moment, just the one oscillator. So let's bring in the other oscillator by dialing up another voice. Maybe we can fine detune slightly. Let's change the filter type here. Turn the drive up a bit. Turn the octave up a little bit actually. You know, I don't like the fine tuning. I think it's nicer. A little bit of fine tuning. I mean, that's real fine, 0.020. Maybe 30, 40. Play around with the amp envelope. So bring the sustain down, put decay up a little bit, have the release right down. Gives you quite a nice like plinky sort of sound straight out of the box. Let's see how that sounds in context. Yeah, it needs to be lower, doesn't it? We'll bring that back down to 0 octave there. I mean, because I'm doing these tutorials, they're not preemptive, so they're on the fly. I'm going to be making sort of, you know, producer decisions as I go along, rather than, you know, a tutorial where someone's, right, this is how you do this, and I've thought about it for 5 hours beforehand, and so it's totally not fake or anything, and you know, this is how I just come up with my stuff straight away, and it's brilliant straight away, which is, you know, bollocks, because it's trial and error. You know, you'll come up with a million shit things before you come up with something absolutely amazing. Well, maybe not a million things, but you know, I've got a ton of tracks that have been started, never finished, have got to a point where it's gone, actually this is shit. Let's bin that one. Let's keep going until we come up with something that sounds good, you know. I'm not saying that this sounds amazing, but, you know. The only thing is now, I don't know whether that little lead line actually fits, but I quite like this sort of percussive, sort of choppy riff that we've come up with here. And there's something as well in the actual loop we've made that doesn't quite fit with this, and I'm not sure what it is. I think it might be that. So if we take this off... Yeah, it totally is. I knew, I said at some point that it sounded a bit sort of Latin-y, that. So that's, sorry, that's out of the window now. Sorry, that's gone. That's just the way it goes. So we'll carry on. This is going to probably end up getting a bit more proggy house now rather than the Latin-y house, which is good because I didn't want it to go Latin house anyway because I'm not really a fan. So let's do a bit more in SYNTH and try and make that sound a little bit better than it does. Maybe we can stick a bit of delay on that actually. Stick just a normal regular one. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. That would sound better bumped down another octave actually. No. Okay, so that's cool as a percussive sort of rhythmic synth. Let's take this tube off a massive. Both need to be a little bit more spacey sounding, so we're going to whack up the reverb a little bit there. Possibly stick some reverb on this SYNTH, or just use the SYNTH reverb that's built in, I guess. We could do that, I guess. I mean, one thing we can do with this is we could stick a compressor on SYNTH and sidechain it to the kick at this point. So just click sidechain there, input from kick, bring down threshold. You get that kind of ducking effect. Okay, so that's not bad. I'm not 100% sure on this lead line now. I'm going to leave it muted for now. Maybe we'll come up with something else. I I mean, we want to kind of progress this a little bit more, don't we? Because it's quite boring at the moment. It's alright, it would make do as an intro synth. Let's copy paste this over here. Method in my madness. And let's loop this. And let's try and get this to progress a little bit through some different chord changes, because it's not particularly uplifting at the moment, and I like prog house to be uplifting. So let's turn on the headphones up there. Nice to hear what you're doing. So I want the chord progression to kind of rise a little bit, be a little bit more sort of uplifting, because rising chord progressions tend to do that. So at the moment we've got, that's all in C minor. Bring that up to maybe the E flat. Stick these up to a different note in the same key. I think we'll carry on moving these up until the end of bar 12. Well, it's not actually bar 12, but bar 12 in Ableton's fucked up little MIDI world. Take these down to G sharp, A flat in other words. Bring them back down again. That sounds quite nice. It's not a bad little progression there. Okay, so we've changed quite a few notes around there. It's hard to explain really, you know, the process of doing this unless you already have a little bit of kind of knowledge in how chords and melodies and kind of, you know, a little bit of music theory. Really helpful. I mean, even if you're not playing proper instruments, you know, it's so helpful messing around with, even if you're messing around with computers and just MIDI rolls. I mean, I've got a, you know, keyboard in front of me, so I find it quite easy just to play in little bits. A lot of people don't have that knowledge or that skill available to them, so you know, tons of people just put in, you hardly ever see deadmau5, you know, plucking in his notes with a keyboard. He's usually putting them in, you know, he knows the sound that he wants, but he just has to kind of get to it via another method rather than playing it all perfectly in my piano. I mean, I can't play it in perfectly keyboard. It would have taken me quite longer to come up with that, probably messing around the keyboard, than just getting the basic rhythm of the synth part down with your hands, and then playing around with it manually, you know, changing the notes, getting your chord progression sorted. So this is all in the key of C minor, so we've got like C minor, E flat, A flat, etc, etc. You know, get some web pages up on basic music theory would be a massive help to everyone and anyone doing music production. Much nicer progression there. So we'll copy that. So it's a nice 8-bar progression. So this is going to seem quite haphazard the way I'm doing things here, but this is kind of how I get things done eventually. So we'll grab all the kicks there, 4 to the floors. We'll bring them across into this new progression and see what that sounds like. That doesn't sound too bad. So we'll go back in Silent, we'll play around with this sort of the cut-off, etc. See what we can make the sound a little bit better. It's really playing around with the amp envelope here just to, you know, get that kind of, I'm looking for that sort of plucky sound. Might go into part B, bring these voices in, maybe have them up an octave. Obviously you've got a different amp envelope for part B. Can you? I'm not sure if you can copy. You should be able to just copy amp envelopes across. If there's a way that you can sync them that I don't know about, which is totally possible. For now, we'll just try and copy it on here. So, let's see. What's that? 285. Thereabouts. 170. Bring it down there. Release down. Up, rather. There we go. That's quite nice, square wave there. Really nice sort of little sound like that. Maybe not on both of them, but turn that delay feedback up and maybe the dry wet up a little bit. Adjusting the filter type on filter B there. Okay, so we're just playing around adjusting the volumes on the oscillators there, playing around with the filter controls, just try and get a bit of a balance going. I like the high, these sort of, I mean, for solo part B, you can hear that we've got like a really nice kind of high copy of the pattern that we've already made. So that at a low volume mixed in sounds quite nice, I think. I think we're going to stick some reverb on that actually. Let's just stick that ballad reverb on. About 19–20% maybe there. Also, one thing I like to put on, which is a great Ableton effect, is the saturator. Stick a bit warmer on there, probably straight after SYNTH. Take that delay down for now a little bit more, and take that reverb down. The saturator really kind of boosts it up a little bit. stick the other percussion in, just select that, loop it, bring it over just to see what that sounds like with that progression. Kind of warily keeping an eye on the time here. Yeah, I've completely fucked that up, haven't I? What the hell is that? Seriously. That's not been copied right at all. Here we go, Dan, wake up. Copy the right shit over. That's better. You know, I mean, these tutorials, hopefully you'll learn something. They're not amazingly professional. They're not up to, you know, Dave from Boy in a Band standards. Hi, I'm Dan. But, you know, hopefully that's endearing, and if you don't like it, then not much I can do about that, really. I'll try and get better. Right, let's bring back in that massive melody and see if it actually fits a little bit better now. I'm not sure whether it will. No, I'm not liking that. We're going to throw that away. It's too washed out, isn't it, with the reverb? Want something a little bit more blippy, don't we? And that's quite nice, just with the cutoff turned down. Needs boosting on the output, but we can just stick a compressor on that. Actually, we'll stick a preset compressor on. Go for the octave hard one. It's just sort of, you know, getting little synth ideas and sort of filling in little gaps and things. Always sort of obviously sticking to the right chord structures and things. So, you know, you might loop that in the progression with the initial progression that doesn't actually go anywhere chord-wise. What you might do is just sort of open that up a little bit as it comes towards. I mean, obviously it's sounding pretty empty at the moment. We haven't got any bass in there. We haven't got any kind of, you know, pads, anything like that. Nothing side chaining much. There's, you know, so it's going to sound pretty simple at this stage. But I think that's an okay start. I mean, we'll probably mess around with the synths a little bit more at a later stage. I can't believe it's been 40 minutes already just doing this. It's, you know, it just goes to show how long it takes to sort of knock a song together, unless you're doing real, you know, preemptive, premeditated stuff and you already know the melodies that you're going to put down and things like that. So hopefully I'm not boring you guys too much with this stuff. If I am, then, you know, leave me comments, leave me messages, say to make them concise, ask what you want for. You know, I'm new to this stuff, so I think I'm going to leave it there for now. And next one we'll try and add a few more synth elements, stick in some. I think the next one we'll just do bass. I think, yeah, next video is just going to be bass, just all the way, putting in a heavy bass. That sounds good. Okay. Anyway, check out, if you're still awake, check out the links I've got on my channel. Please subscribe. I'm going to be throwing together some preset packs and things like that quite soon in the future, hopefully. I've got all the Facebook and all that stuff, so, you know, check it all out. All right, cheers.